Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we are super happy to have you here, and we just ask that you bring an open mind and heart to your listening experience and to be prepared to explore vantage points that I'm convinced will help shift or solidify your current understanding of the ultimate nature of reality in a way that is extremely empowering. Speaking of exploring powerful perspectives, I'm super excited to announce the release of my very first book, The Golden Key: Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance. If you're ready to alchemize the circumstances in your life so that your abundance expands to an entirely new level in 2021, head over to goldenkey.gift to download the audio or ebook as my gift to you by using the code POSITIVEHEAD.
All right, all you positive heads, welcome one and all. I am ever so grateful that you've joined me today on this beautifully magical day, where today we're going to be talking about something super fun, as you can tell from the topic of today, sex, magic, and the Blue Lotus. And this topic came from a series of synchronicities that I just experienced. So I'm going to first tell you that story, and then I'm going to share with you some information about sex, magic, and the Blue Lotus. So how this came up, I told you guys on Tuesday about the trip that I just had over the weekend with my girlfriends. And over the weekend, certain things kept coming into our awareness, which again, I talked about on Tuesday. But one of the things that I didn't quite pay as much attention to was the topic of the Blue Lotus and sex magic, because this came up immediately when we first got together. So first, my friend Sarah, and Sarah's been on this show a couple times, Sarah Breskman Cosme, she mentioned the Blue Lotus. And I said, how interesting that you ask about that, because I've been thinking about the Blue Lotus lately, and I've actually been listening to some videos and learning a little bit about it. And so we talked about what I had learned. I had just watched this History Channel video about it because they were curious if the Blue Lotus had narcotic properties. That's one of the things that people think that the Blue Lotus has, is narcotic properties. And so what they did was they studied the ancient Egyptian Blue Lotus, which the exact line that was present in ancient Egypt, they still have that strain in the British Museum, or a British museum. And so they took this flower and they tested it. They did this spectroscopy to figure out what exactly was in this plant. What were the constituents? They did not find narcotics. But what they did find was things that were very, very similar to how Viagra works. And so aphrodisiac type properties. And so while that was very interesting and I shared that, I still didn't make the connection between the Blue Lotus and sex magic, because we went on later, Sarah and I, to talk about sex magic a little bit. Again, me not making any connection whatsoever. And I can attribute that to my denseness. It can be pretty dense sometimes. I like to call myself an idiot genius because there are certain things that are right in front of my face that I just don't see. And so this is how it started. Sarah and I talking about the Blue Lotus and sex magic. And now, throughout the weekend, certain things kept coming into our awareness. One of those things was bees. Now, we were in a town that was close to a town that had the name Bee in it. I think it was called Bee Haven or something similar. But everywhere we looked, or everywhere I looked, I kept noticing bees. And now our friend Tracy also had some synchronicities with bees as well. And so every time I would see that, I would point it out to her. But then she made the remark, well, you're the one seeing the bee stuff. Maybe this is for you. What does that mean to you? And of course, bees mean lots of things. They're hard workers. And when I think of bees, I think of the honeycomb structure and how that is a symbol of the beauty of the creation that we exist in. There's so much to bees, but when I think about it, I think of creation and the beauty in creation. So now we have the bees and we have the Blue Lotus and we have sex magic. Now, the other thing that was coming up was, for me, I kept talking about how in my sessions, this I keeps coming for people. They keep seeing this I in the nothingness, whether it's one eye or two eyes. This is a common theme. And now I have talked about this on the show previously about the eye of Ra and the I that comes in sessions, because this is a frequent theme of mine. So I was talking to the ladies about this topic. Of course, we go shopping in town, and I'm at the counter buying something in the one store that I choose to buy something in. And what's there behind the counter but a pillow with these two eyes just staring at me? Of course, I take a picture of it, tell the girls about it, make reference to these eyes. So now we have all these different themes going on, and especially for me, I'm noticing all of these themes for myself. And as you may or may not know, when my girlfriends and I get together, we usually put each other out into a deep state of trance and talk to our higher selves. And then our higher selves give information for each person in the group, and usually something that's going on in the world. And typically I will share that message, but there was just so much personal information intertwined that it's hard to do that this time. So I'm just going to give you a little rundown. So Sarah had asked a question to me while I was in trance about the Blue Lotus. And what came through was that we used to, in that time of ancient Egypt, we used to use it in ceremony. We used it to connect because it would thin the veil, essentially, that it would help us with our connection to Mother Earth and also our connection to the cosmos, that as above, so below connection. It also came through that we don't need to actually use this plant now to have the same experience. We don't need to have the blue lotus flower and drink the tea soaked in wine, because that's the way they used to do it in ceremony. We don't need to do it like this anymore. What we can do now is just look at the image of the flower. And that is enough. We can, in our minds, convene with the spirit, the consciousness of this plant, and we can have the same exact experience. We can have ceremony around that. And that's such a beautiful thing, because the sustainability of this plant is a concern. It used to be a very widespread plant, and it's actually hard to find now in Egypt. And so this is definitely a plant that we don't want to use a lot of. And so using it in our minds is a way better, sustainable way, in my opinion. And I absolutely love that idea from my higher self, so I super appreciated that. And what was also interesting is that I didn't really understand much about the Blue Lotus in terms of its ceremonial effects in that way. I hadn't researched it yet in that way. Nothing else came out in terms of its use in sex magic until I meditated this morning. And so I sat in meditation, and it came to me very clearly that the Blue Lotus was used in sex magic. Now, sex magic is such a powerful way to use your energy. When we use magic in this way, when we have sex, what we're doing is transferring energy. And so when the ancient Egyptians did this ceremonially, they understood the transfer of energy. And that's why they did this in this ceremonial way. And when they used the blue lotus, what they did was increase their connection. Because in order to use sex magic properly, because you can use this, and I shouldn't say properly because that's not necessarily the right word, but there's white magic and there's black magic, and you can choose to use this power in any way. But the most powerful of ways is love. And so when you can connect with the energy of the love of the Creator and connect with the energy of the love of the cosmos and bring that within yourself and integrate that within yourself and share that with your partner, and then you both give and receive this energy, that energy is so intensely powerful that you can do anything. You can manifest anything with it. And so that's what they were doing. They were transferring this energy of love to manifest, to create This is how creation began, through the manifesting of the power of love. And as humans, we can increase this power within us by using our Kundalini force, this rising serpent within us of energy that is greatly enhanced through sexual energy. And so, speaking of, it's very important that we are careful with our sexual energy and who we are transferring to and who we are receiving from. Or should I rephrase and say, what type of energies are we allowing ourselves to receive, and how much of our energy are we allowing ourselves to give away? Very important thing to consider. Sex magic is a extremely powerful thing. And so if you want to practice this, I would suggest with your partner using that blue lotus image in your mind and connecting with the creator and bringing that love up through your root chakra, bringing it all the way up to your heart, using the symbol of the Ankh, which they also used in sex magic. Actually, I'm saying that they did because in my intuitive vision of it, that is exactly the way I see it. To ankh this energy up through your system, through your heart, and bounce it out over your crown chakra and out through your arms. So there's a lot to this practice. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what I learned about the Blue Lotus. It's extremely interesting. So I did a little research, and here's what's really cool about the synchronicities that came up here. So today, after that meditation, I thought, let me look up Blue Lotus and sex magic and see what kind of information is out there. Because after I read it, after I did that, I realized, oh, this is a thing. People know this. But of course, in my denseness, I'm just becoming aware of it. And also, what I find interesting is that our higher selves only give us the things that we can have at that time, that we can take in, that we can understand at that time. So they feed us in spoonfuls. They also talk to us in synchronicities, and they show us all these little signs and symbols and put them together in this nice little basket. So you can't question it. So you have to look at it. So you have to say, oh, wow, yes, this is something and this is important. Because this is what they did for me today. I put in that simple search, Blue Lotus plus sex magic. And the very first thing that comes up is an article from the Honey Bee Herbals Company. Of course. So there are the bees. And the first thing it says is the flower of intuition and connection. That's exactly what my higher self said about the Blue Lotus. So, of course, I'm going to read a little bit from this article where they talk about the use of the Blue Lotus in ancient Egypt. It says, perhaps the most sacred and revered plant in ancient Egypt, Blue Lotus was used extensively in medicine, magic, ritual, and celebration. The flower is depicted everywhere in ancient Egyptian temples and writings. It's hard to find pieces of this ancient civilization without it. The ancient Egyptians had a deep understanding of the nature of life and creation. The entirety of their culture was steeped in reverence for the natural world, from animals to plants and everything in between. The ancient Egyptians had many traditional uses and applications of blue lotus. The flowers of blue lotus were steeped in wine, which was then shared during religious ceremonies, rituals, and celebrations. Blue lotus is said to connect one to the divine, inducing higher states of being and consciousness. It is for this reason it is widely used in religious rites and ceremonies. Blue lotus is said to induce a state of euphoria, promote relaxation, and improve circulation, making it a potent aphrodisiac. The ancient Egyptians were known for being a sexual people, regularly taking part in rituals and celebrations around sexuality. There are countless depictions of these famous celebrations, and the blue lotus is a central symbol within them. This lily is often associated with symbols of creation, rebirth, death, and the sun. Part of its symbolism comes from the way it grows. Like other water lilies, blue lotus emerges from the murky waters once a year to bloom for only 3 days. In Egyptian mythology, creation came from the primordial waters of Nun. They believed that in the beginning there was water, and from that, creation was birthed. I find a powerful connection here. It is no wonder to me that the blue lotus is the most sacred plant medicine to the ancient Egyptians, as it is tied to the creation of life itself. In fact, this connection goes even deeper when we look at the god Nefertum, who is strongly associated with the blue water lily. He is said to have emerged from the primordial waters of the lily itself. Blue lotus is also mentioned in the Egyptian Book of the Dead as the lily which shines in the earth. There are further references to the water lily in these texts as being a vehicle to ascension and rebirth. It was often integrated into ceremonies after death as a guide helping the soul to reach the heavens. In other myths, such as a variation of the story of Horus, the flower is presented as a symbol of the all-seeing eye. When Seth rips out the eye of Horus, he buries it in the sand, where it is then transformed into a lily. And so how about that? As if it wasn't enough that this article that first came up was from honeybeeherbals.co, but at the very end of the ancient Egyptian part, it made reference to the Eye of Ra. Talk about synchronicity and talk about my higher self putting together all these little pieces into this beautiful little picture for me. And this is the way that all of our higher selves speak to us, by showing us all of these little signs throughout our day, and then giving us messages, whether it's in meditation, through our dreams, through our thoughts, of something to go and investigate, to look at further. And then when we do that, it is put together in this beautiful picture for us to understand and then to move forward from. Because it was very important to share this concept today, this concept of sex magic. How many of you are having sex, and how many of you are acknowledging the energy exchange that is happening when you do that. Now, at this time, as we are moving into these more potent energies, these higher intensity energies, it's going to be more recognizable, our energy fields and how we need to maintain them. And when we are sharing in an energy transfer like that, very important for us to pay attention to what's happening in our energy system. And when we do, we can really beautifully work with this power of love that we have within us. I love you all so much. I encourage you to research this a little bit on your own too and see what else you can find out. Sit in meditation and see what your guides have to tell you. I love you all. I'm going to leave you with a song for today. This is Geometry, Morning Star Wisdom. Until next time, I love you all.
Also, before we cue up today's song, as a quick reminder, don't forget to download the Golden Key audio or ebook as my free gift to you at goldenkey.gift using the Golden Key code POSITIVEHEAD. And please, if you enjoy my gift, leave a positive review on Amazon so others can unlock their lives with the help of the Golden Key as well.
Inspire us as a humanity to drop deep, use the rhythms of the drum, the rhythms of our hearts, the rhythms of our feet stomping on the earth to elevate our prayers up to the cosmos, to bring down that starlight that is informing our bodies about how to make this walk on planet Earth, how to walk through those rites of passage, of rebirthing. So that all of that resource, intelligence, can come from the dance, can come from the magic that happens when we together drop into that rhythm of the universe, that rhythm of life, and ride it together. All vision comes from that place. We can begin to exchange information, exchange data, exchange resource. Exchange data, exchange information. Help us to generate the patience to listen to the wisdom of our own souls and to truly incarnate the uniqueness that each of us host, that each of us are responsible to channel and create and actualize here on this planet. As we dance, pour this wisdom, this joy, this bliss down into these bodies and help us to receive the insights that the dance can show us. To create the world of abundance and health and love that we all choose to be in. Yeah.